Imagine being the kind of man who doesn't need to chase, convince, or prove his worth to any woman because his energy, his presence, and the way he makes her feel does all the work. You don't have to be the richest man in the room or the best looking guy at the party. What you need is a psychological edge. A way to trigger deep emotional responses that make a woman think about you when you're not around, miss you when you're silent, and feel a pull toward you that she can't logically explain. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding what truly drives human connection, especially romantic desire. It's about tapping into the hidden parts of her psychology that crave depth, passion, safety, and uncertainty all at once. And when you master these, you become unforgettable. You become the man who doesn't beg for attention, he commands it effortlessly. Let's dive into the 7 psychological tricks that, when used with sincerity and emotional intelligence, will make any woman obsessed with you. Not temporarily, but on a level that leaves a mark. Trick LNG, the power of emotional contrast. Human beings, especially women, don't just remember people. They remember feelings. If every interaction with you feels the same, she gets used to it. And what we get used to, we start to undervalue. But if it can create contrast, switch between being light-hearted and deep, playful and mysterious, warm and composed, you take her on an emotional roller coaster. Not drama, not confusion, but contrast. One moment, make her laugh until her stomach hurts. The next, look her in the eyes and ask her something no one else ever dared to. Then pull back. Let her sit in the afterglow of that connection. This emotional fluctuation creates attachment. The brain remembers the highs more than the consistency. It makes her anticipate what's next. When you create unpredictable emotions, but always with care and boundaries, she begins to associate you with adventure, with electricity. And that is addictive. Trick at to leave strategic gaps in communication. Availability can be the enemy of attraction. If you're always texting, always calling, always present, you remove the thrill. Obsession isn't born in presence, it's born in absence. It's born in those quiet spaces where she starts to wonder what you're doing, who you're thinking about, and whether you're thinking about her. Don't overexpose yourself. Be intentional. When you leave gaps in communication, not to play games, but because you have a full life, she starts to lean in. The imagination begins to fill in the blanks. That's powerful, because once a woman starts imagining you, daydreaming about your voice, your touch, your energy, that's when obsession begins. Silence used wisely is louder than words. Trick 3, mirror her deep identity desires. Every woman, whether she realizes it or not, has a secret emotional blueprint of the man she feels drawn to. He represents not just a partner, but an idea, a story, an elevation of how she sees herself. If you can subtly reflect back the values, dreams, or emotions that matter most to her, she'll see you as aligned with who she wants to become. You're not just a man now, you're a mirror to her future. Let's say she values freedom. Talk about how you prioritize autonomy. If she's nurturing, talk about how warmth and empathy are the most underrated superpowers. If she dreams of adventure, share stories that spark that fire. When you validate who she wants to be and make her feel safe expressing it, she'll emotionally invest in you. She'll associate you with her evolution. That's not attraction, that's psychological bonding. Trick I4, to be mysterious, not vague. Mystery is magnetic. But don't confuse that with being vague or confusing. Mystery means you don't reveal everything at once. You keep a little back, not because you're hiding, but because you have depth. Let her peel back your layers over time. When she thinks she has you all figured out, interest begins to fade. But there's always a little more to discover, more stories, more ambition, more layers beneath the surface. You become endlessly fascinating. Answer questions with nuance. Give her glimpses of your world, not a full download. Let her see parts of your life when the moment feels earned, not when it's demanded. Mystery invites curiosity, and curiosity keeps you in her thoughts long after the conversation ends. Trick AFE, become her safe emotional space in a world that constantly judges, criticizes, and demands perfection from women. Being the one person who makes her feel safe to be herself is everything. If she can cry in front of you, be goofy without shame, open up about her fears, and you meet her with presence and acceptance, you're irreplaceable. Women fall hardest for the men who make them feel emotionally safe. This doesn't mean you're a therapist. It means when she's vulnerable, you don't flinch, you don't mock, you honor it. This creates a deep psychological anchor. Because when a woman feels emotionally safe with you, her body and mind start associating you with relief, with peace, with home. If she won't just want to talk to you, she'll need to. Trick 60, control jealousy without playing games. Let's be clear, toxic jealousy destroys relationships. But subtle, controlled jealousy can ignite desire when used with maturity and care. Here's how it works: you don't rub other women in her face, you don't provoke insecurity, but you demonstrate value, that you're desired, respected, admired by others. You speak with quiet confidence. You maintain your independence. You talk about your life in a way that reveals you're not desperate, that if things didn't work out, you'd still be just fine. When a woman senses that other women might find you attractive, but you're choosing her, that exclusivity feels tanks more valuable. It creates urgency. It creates competition, even if it's subtle. It reminds her you're a catch, and a catch others would be lucky to have. Just don't abuse it. Don't manufacture stories. Just let your energy, your ambition, and your discipline speak for themselves. Trick 7. Elevate her emotional state every time. Here's the truth in the person who consistently makes her feel good, win her heart. Whether you're her type or not. Because at the end of the day, people chase feelings, not faces. If every time she talks to you, she feels more alive, more seen, more hopeful, more herself, you become her emotional drug. This doesn't mean putting on a fake smile. It means being intentional. Compliment her in ways that go beyond the surface. Talk about passions, dreams, the magic in life. Tease her playfully. Make her laugh until her cheeks hurt. Make her think. When she leaves you feeling better than when she found you, her brain starts forming a powerful association. This man hunt joy. And when that pattern repeats, obsession forms. Now let's talk real. These 7 psychological tricks are powerful, but only when used from the right place. Not desperation, not ego, but genuine presence. You don't become addictive by pretending. You become addictive by becoming a man of depth, clarity, self respect, and emotional intelligence. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes her lean in. Be a man who listens deeply, speaks intentionally, lives passionately, and never seeks validation from her because you're already rooted in who you are. That energy, that's magnetic. And when you mix that with the psychological understanding of how attraction truly works, you're not just another guy in her DMMs. You're the one she can't stop thinking about. The one who lingers in her mind when she's quiet. The one she compares every other man to. Not because of money, because of looks, but because of how you made her feel. Inspired, understood, desired, safe, alive. You now have the tools. Use them wisely. Respect her mind. Protect her heart. And never forget the goal isn't to control her attention. It's to deserve it. And when you do, obsession won't be something you chase. It'll be something she surrenders to. Effortlessly. Emotionally. Completely. The foundation of true obsession isn't built on manipulation, deception, or flashy tactics. It's built on something far more powerful, far more sustainably deep psychological alignment. It's about creating a connection that taps into the deepest layers of a woman's emotional experience. A connection that doesn't just stimulate her attention for a moment, but captivates her soul for the long haul. You see, any man can get a woman's curiosity with a clever line or an expensive suit. But that kind of attraction fades. It's surface level, temporary. What lasts, what grows into obsession, is when a woman feels like you see her, not just with your eyes, but with your emotional intelligence. When she feels like you get her on a level that most people never even attempt to reach. This kind of psychological pull begins with authenticity. When you stop pretending to be someone you're not. When you lead with your truth, not with bravado, not with ego, but with grounded self awareness. Because women are incredibly perceptive. They can sense when you're being real and when you're performing. Authenticity isn't about oversharing or being passive, it's about standing in your truth with confidence. When you do that, you signal to her subconscious that you're stable, safe, and real. And real is rare, but that's only part of the equation. The second piece is mystery. And no, this doesn't mean being vague or distant. It means not revealing everything all at once. It means having layers to you that unfold over time. It means being the kind of man who's still full of surprises months into knowing you. Because mystery breeds curiosity, and curiosity breeds attention. When she's wondering what you're thinking, where your mind wanders, what else there is to learn about you, that's when she becomes emotionally invested. And finally, emotional attunement. This is the art of sensing what she feels even when she doesn't say it out loud. It's the ability to read between the lines, to feel the shift in her energy, and to respond not from a place of logic, but from a place of presence. When a woman feels emotionally attuned to, she lets her guard down, she opens up. And when she opens up to you and feels safe doing it, she bonds to you. Deeply, that's where obsession is born. Not through force or manipulation, but through a magnetic mix of truth, intrigue, and emotional connection. It's not about trying to be the perfect man. It's about being a real man, one who has depth, who understands timing, and who knows how to speak to the heart, not just the mind. Because when a woman feels that you're aligned with her emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically, she doesn't just want to be around you, she feels like she needs to be. That's not game. That's power. And it all starts from within. Women don't become obsessed with a man because he checks off a list of external qualities, like height, wealth, or social status. Those things might catch her attention at first, but they don't hold her heart. What really draws a woman in? What makes her crave your presence is how she feels in your energy. You want to know the secret. Women become truly drawn, emotionally hooked, to men who make them feel four very specific things: seen, heard, safe, and emotionally charged. Master these four, and you don't just capture her interest. You create something deeper. You create emotional addiction. Let's break it down. First, seen. To feel truly seen is to feel understood without judgment. Most people walk through life feeling invisible, like no one really gets them. But when you look at a woman with presence, when you notice the little things, her tone when she talks about her dreams, the flicker of doubt behind her smile, the way she lights up when she's passionate, when you acknowledge those things, she feels seen on a soul level. And when someone sees you that deeply, it's unforgettable. Next, heard. This isn't just about listening to respond, it's about listening to feel. It's being present without distraction when she speaks. It's remembering what she said last week, not because you had to, but because you actually care. When a woman feels like her thoughts, feelings, and opinions matter to you, when she doesn't have to fight to be understood, that creates a powerful emotional bond. Because so few people make her feel genuinely heard. Then comes safety, not just physical safety, emotional safety. This is everything. Women are constantly navigating a world that tells them to shrink, to stay quiet, to protect themselves. But when she's with you, she should feel like she can exhale. No masks, no fear, no performance, just herself. Raw, honest, real. When she knows that her emotions won't be used against her. When she knows she won't be mocked for crying or laughed at for dreaming. You become her sanctuary. And once you're her safe space, she won't want to be anywhere else. Finally, emotionally charged. Obsession isn't born in comfort alone, it's born in emotional energy. She needs to feel alive when she's with you. That means passion, playfulness, depth, intensity. The ability to switch from joking and teasing 1 minute to talking about life's meaning the next. If you can take her on that emotional journey, if you can stimulate her mind, her heart, and her body, she begins to crave you. Not because she needs yoga, but because being with you amplifies her experience of life. When you combine all of these, being seen, being heard, feeling safe, and being emotionally lit up, you tap into a psychological state that her brain remembers. You trigger emotional highs she doesn't want to come down from. And without even realizing it, she starts seeking that feeling again and again. That's not manipulation, that's resonance. It's connection on a frequency most men never touch. And it's the foundation of real, lasting obsession. Because in the end, it's not about having the most to offer. It's about being the man who makes her feel the most alive. Power doesn't lie in chasing her. It doesn't lie in constantly trying to prove your worth, to beg for attention, or to overextend yourself just to be chosen. That's not power. That's desperation disguised as effort. Real power, the kind that draws women in and keeps them coming back, is found in presence, in self security, in being so grounded in who you are, so at peace with your identity, so committed to your path and purpose, that you don't need her to complete you, but you inspire her to want to be part of your world. You see, when you chase, what you're really doing is communicating that you believe she's the prize and you're just hoping to be picked. But when you flip the script, when you become the prize, something shifts. You stop trying to force attraction and start attracting naturally. So, how do you become that magnetic? It starts with security, not just financial security, but emotional security. A calm confidence that says, I know who I am and I know what I bring. You're not easily shaken. You don't crumble at the first sign of rejection. You're not waiting to be validated by her response because you've already validated yourself. That emotional maturity is rare and incredibly attractive. Then comes being interesting. Not just interesting to her, interesting to yourself. A man who's curious, who's passionate, who's constantly learning, evolving, building. Whether it's your craft, your body, your mindset, or your mission, you have something that drives you beyond just wanting a relationship. And when she sees that you're already fulfilled, already lit up by your own life, she doesn't feel pressure. She feels invited. And finally, magnetism. That intangible force that draws people in. It's built from a combination of confidence, presence, mystery, humor, depth, and kindness. It's the energy of a man who doesn't need attention to feel worthy, but gets it anyway because of how he carries himself, because of how he makes others feel in his presence. When you walk into a room, you bring a calm, steady power. Not noise, not bravado, but quiet strength. And here's the truth: when you embody those traits, you don't have to chase. You attract. You don't have to convince her to stay. She wants to stay. Not because you're constantly texting, complimenting, or over communicating, but because there's something about you that she can't quite explain, something that feels rare, grounding, and exciting all at once. You become the man who doesn't orbit around her, you become the man who has his own orbit, and she naturally chooses to step into it again and again. Not because you pursued her endlessly, but because you became the kind of man who doesn't have to.